states compete with one another. It's a fact of life. Sometimes it's a race for the bottom, but it's still a fact of life. If we decide that we're going to have certain rules because this is our core values, then we can live with those core values and we can find the situation we're facing today, such as our young people are leaving Vermont, leaving an older and smaller population, well, maybe not in absolute terms smaller, but the growth rate is restrained, and therefore the tax base is shrinking. The commercial tax base is plateaued or shrinking. CNS was going to be here a couple years ago. Now maybe I'm stepping into it by mentioning that, but they're over in Keene now, and who knows how many jobs they would have brought here, and they were already here. So why did we send them away? They wanted to come here, but we sent them away. What are we thinking? Why are we doing that? Home Depot. I drive up and down Putney Road all the time, and I see that building. I just wince every time I see the building closed. Now, they made a business decision to leave because they had certain minimums they needed to have in order to be a viable concern. But maybe one of the things that influenced their decision was the expense of doing business here, let alone adding to the expense, as Len has aptly said. We have to have a philosophy that's going to attract viable businesses, that's going to be a competitor to New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and New York. We have to look at what they're offering and what we can offer. And we have to be very pragmatic about that. I'm afraid it's not a pretty picture, but it's something we have to realize is going to happen. They're eating our lunch. They're eating our lunch. And we're sitting here talking about expanding services and so forth. I don't think so. We've got more of a serious problem than just deciding what to do with our extra money. We don't have money. We're borrowing money.
Thank you. About a year and a half ago, the Rural Development went around the entire state and did a survey on what's important to Vermonters, what values are important. And one of the things that came up was the working landscape and the environmental beauty, the high value that we place on our environment. We need to have jobs, but we need to make sure that we don't degrade that environment. We need to have a permitting process that allows us to have those jobs without degrading the environment. I think that we do have to cherry pick who comes here, because we don't want in Brattleboro, I don't think, some of the same businesses that we have in Williston. If you go up there, I mean Winooski, I mix those up all the time. They are all up in Chittenden County. I think there are other things that we can do. We can encourage our small businesses that already exist in our communities. Chroma Technology, Omega, we have a lot of businesses, Vermed, that started really small and are the kind of businesses we want to attract. And we can do that with tax credits. We can get rid of, I don't know if you're familiar with the tax credit program or not, but we have a thing called Brattleboro. You can't get the tax credits unless you're going to say, well, I'm going to go to New Hampshire if you don't give them to me. We need to get rid of that criteria and just give people tax credits who are willing to stay here and grow. We also need to, I believe, solve our healthcare crisis, because that will help businesses. But we also need to look at technology transfer from our institutions of higher education. We have some of the best institutions of higher education in the country here. We have a lot of them. They're very good. They're research-oriented, some of them. And we need to make sure that they're serving the needs of Vermont and the businesses of Vermont, and that there is a technology transfer that happens.
So I feel pretty positive about our future. I think in terms of job creation and that sort of thing. But I think we do need to focus on the positive and focus on tomorrow, not yesterday. And I thought there were some pretty neat ideas that Democratic gubernatorial candidates since past brought up. I thought Susan Bartlett's idea for an Office of Innovation at the government level was really super cool. She talked about how Green Mountain Coffee, basically what they did is they developed a patent for that single cup shot coffee, which then I was talking to one of my friends who owns stock in that company. I mean, she was like, oh, maybe that's why my stock in the past 9 years went from 6,000 to 100,000. The long and the short of it is that patent that they, came up with, then basically they plowed the money back into the company and thereby created jobs. So I think innovation, I think renewable energy. There was a really cool article in the Reformer yesterday. It was citing University of California at Berkeley forecast that in New Hampshire they can gain 5,000 to 7,000 jobs by the year 2020 in the renewable energy sector. And I think there are really a lot of possibilities there. Interestingly enough, just a couple of days ago, the property surrounding my husband and my farm was sold to a guy who basically what he's going to do is grow switchgrass that can be turned into pellets, which can be used for biomass. So I think, there are a lot of great possibilities out there. We just have to remain optimistic. Agritourism, I think, is another really important area for us to pursue. I totally agree with Jeanette, and I feel very strongly about protecting Vermont's most valuable asset, in my view, which is our agricultural landscape, our working landscape, which is basically, tourism is the #1 income generator. Let's keep it that way.